Have you ever wondered how a modern-day conflict unfolds in real time, right on our doorsteps, yet seems so distant? In the heart of Europe, Ukraine experiences an ongoing conflict that's reshaping the globe's political landscape. This war, far from an isolated event, reverberates through our world, capturing global attention and inspiring numerous documentaries. These films humanize the conflict, exploring not only the political chess game, but also the personal stories etched by the war. Let's delve into the timeline of this conflict and understand the history behind it. The conflict in Ukraine didn't happen overnight. It is a culmination of years of political tension and historical disputes. Let's take a brief journey back in time to 1991, a year of significant change. The Soviet Union dissolved, and Ukraine, a former Soviet republic, declared its independence. This was a moment of great hope and anticipation for the people of Ukraine, but it also marked the beginning of a new era of challenges. Fast forward to 2004, and we arrive at the Orange Revolution, a series of protests and political events in Ukraine. These events were sparked by allegations of corruption and electoral fraud in the presidential election. The Orange Revolution was a pivotal moment in Ukraine's history, signifying the people's desire for a transparent and democratic society. Then, a decade later, in 2014, a major turning point occurred. Russia annexed Crimea, a region that had been part of Ukraine since 1954. This move was widely condemned by the international community and marked a significant escalation in tensions between Russia and Ukraine. Following the annexation of Crimea, a pro-Russian insurgency sprouted in eastern Ukraine, leading to an armed conflict. This was not a remote, impersonal event, but a war that affected everyday people. It was a war that tore at the fabric of communities, turning neighbors into enemies and upending lives. And so the stage was set for a conflict that would shake not just Ukraine, but the world at large. As the world watched, the conflict in Ukraine escalated, touching the lives of millions. The war unfolded like a tragic play, with its acts marked by significant events, major battles, and the ever-changing role of international players. The battles were not just fought on the ground, but also in the hearts and minds of the people. The struggle for power was evident, but there was another battle, the struggle for survival. The human cost of the war was immeasurable. Homes were lost, families were torn apart, and lives were forever changed. The Minsk agreements were signed with hope, but they remained fragile, like a band-aid on a deep wound. The accords aimed to halt the war and initiate a political dialogue. However, their implementation was marred by breaches and controversies, leading to further escalation. The role of international players was ever evolving. Their influence and involvement were as complex as the war itself. They were both the puppet masters and the mediators, their actions often cloaked in political rhetoric and strategic interests. The war didn't just devour lives, it also consumed resources, leading to a significant economic impact. Industries crumbled, unemployment soared, and the country's economy teetered on the brink of collapse. The displacement of people further added to the economic strain, with millions forced to flee their homes, seeking refuge in unfamiliar territories. But amidst the chaos and destruction, there were stories of resilience and hope. Stories of people rebuilding their lives, of communities coming together, of a nation refusing to be broken. Despite ongoing peace talks and ceasefires, the conflict continues to smolder, affecting countless lives. The reverberations of the conflict in Ukraine are felt far beyond its borders. The echoes of this strife are bouncing across international halls of power, from the North Atlantic Treaty Organization's headquarters to the hallowed chambers of the United Nations. Even the European Union, with its emphasis on peace and unity, has been drawn into the fray, grappling with the complexities of this conflict. But it's not just the power players who are involved. There's another group making waves, one armed not with weapons but with cameras, microphones, and the indomitable spirit of storytelling. Filmmakers and journalists have taken it upon themselves to document this war, to bring the stark realities of the front lines to the global audience. Take, for instance, the documentary Freedom on Fire, Ukraine's Fight for Freedom, directed by Evgeny Afanievsky. Premiered at the 79th Venice Film Festival, this film paints a vivid picture of the ongoing conflict, warning of potential expansion. It's a follow-up to Afanievsky's Oscar-nominated film Winter on Fire. Then there's Mariupolis 2, a tribute to director Mantas Kvedaravičius, who was killed while filming in Mariupol. This documentary, screened at the 75th Cannes Film Festival, offers a close-up view of life under bombardment in Ukraine. These filmmakers are proving that in the heart of conflict, the lens of the camera can be as powerful as any weapon. They're capturing the human stories often obscured by the smoke of war, the narratives that live and breathe behind the stark statistics and political posturing. In the face of war, the power of storytelling becomes crucial, shedding light on the realities often hidden behind the headlines. As we stand today, the conflict in Ukraine remains unresolved, a ticking time bomb in the heart of Europe. Despite numerous peace talks and ceasefire agreements, the conflict continues to flare up, casting a long shadow over the future of the region. The battle lines may shift, but the underlying issues remain as entrenched as ever. The stakes are high, not just for Ukraine but for the entire global community. The world watches, its collective breath held, as diplomats and politicians strive to untangle the complex web of disagreements and power struggles that fuel this conflict. This isn't just a story about a nation at war, it's a testament to the resilience of its people, who continue to strive for peace amidst the turmoil. It's about a world that is more interconnected than ever, where a conflict in one corner can reverberate across continents. As the world continues to grapple with the challenge of resolving this conflict, the hope for a peaceful resolution persists. It's a hope that is shared by the countless individuals whose lives have been upended by the war, and by the global community that watches, waits, and works for peace. As we continue to watch the events unfold in Ukraine, one can only hope for a resolution that brings lasting peace to its people.